We're right with you. The Morning Majority, 5 to 9 on 630 WMAL.
8:37 on WMAL. Brian Eamon, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham. Larry Kudlow joins us now, host of the Kudlow Report, 7 o'clock, CNBC. You can also watch him on the call, 11 this morning on CNBC, and the Larry Kudlow Show, 7 o'clock Saturday nights here on WMAL. Larry, I heard you watch the debate last night. You don't have to endorse a candidate, but I'm wondering who in the Republican Party do you feel has the strongest economic message that you've heard so far?
Well, I think the strongest plan was put out by Governor Tim Pawlenty, former Governor Tim Pawlenty. I think it was a very strong blockbuster plan, slashing tax rates, especially business taxes, down to 15%, and also rolling back regulations. I thought that Chicago speech he made about a week ago was really very good. I don't think he got that message out last night. I don't think he explained his plan in the debate last night, but I think he has so far the most detailed, most pro-growth, most Reagan supply-side program.
He talks about a 5% growth plan. I mean, is that realistic?
Oh, sure. I mean, coming out of a deep recession, we ought to be growing 5, 6, 7, even 8% right now. So that doesn't trouble me at all. And longer run, if you use the traditional historical growth of employment times productivity, you can get there. But gosh, I wish he'd done a better job getting it out last night, because that was sort of disappointing. I was sort of disappointed in that whole debate. But I think Pawlenty on paper has by far the best growth.
I was thinking last night, you were in the Reagan administration, the unemployment rate went up for the first couple of months, if not a couple of years in the Reagan administration, and then it really started to take off.
Well, during the recovery, I mean, he inherited a very deep recession.
Right.
Let's define our terms. But once the recovery started, in early 83, December 82, jobs shot up like a skyrocket, so did economic growth.
Right.
Unemployment fell sharply.
But I guess my point was that unemployment's gone up under Obama, and it seems like this administration is getting a little weak-kneed. I'm wondering if there was ever concern in the Reagan administration about, well, are these policies going to work? Is it really going to take off? Well,
no, the president never flinched from his tax cuts, shrink government, deregulated oil and energy right away. No, he didn't shrink. I mean, there might have been some guys in that group that did, but that's a long history. But no, they did not. I mean, the point now is, as the economy sputters here in the first half of 2011, this is supposed to be the second year of recovery, and we're really not seeing much of recovery at all. I mean, 2% is not a recovery, as I said, and you should be springing back, literally springing back, like pushing a balloon below seawater and then watching it spring back up. It's not happening. And that's, I think, endemic to all these regulatory threats and tax threats that we've had coming out of Team Obama. I mean, that's really, to me, it's partly a policy. In large measure, it's a policy problem.
What do you think about the Obama administration's comments of late? Mitt Romney made an attack out of this bumps in the road. We had him sort of joking about how the shovel-ready projects, weren't really that shovel-ready. Obviously, he doesn't always want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom about things, and he made clear I'm not worried about a double dip. But then you also have to communicate that you're feeling people's pain.
Well, I don't know about feeling people's pain. The best way you can feel people's pain is by putting in place some policies that work and leveling with the people that all this big spending stuff has failed. I mean, in some sense, that shovel-ready wasn't as shovel-ready as we thought is a remarkable admission of the breakdown of the big government spending.
Oh, and he's also explicitly said shovel-ready didn't exist. Oops.
Well, that, I guess, is true. I mean, they didn't have the kind of planning they thought, so they didn't level with the American people on that. But, I just don't believe government spending is the answer. I mean, let people keep their own money and provide incentives after tax to work, produce, and invest. That's been the missing link. The so-called tax cuts of the Obama administration were not tax cuts. They were temporary tax credits. So as soon as you get to a certain income level, you even lose the credit. They never tried the supply-side approach of low marginal tax rates on a permanent basis. That's what's always been missing. And the second piece is they've heaped regulatory costs, whether it's banking or energy or Obamacare, health care, or bashing businesses. They've heaped regulatory costs which many people, including myself, believe have frozen future planning and business development. I mean, you can argue with that, but to me, that's what the evidence shows.
The thing that bothered me about the shovel-ready thing was it's like, oh, well, it didn't work. They weren't shovel-ready. Oops, only $787 billion.
Well, no, Brian, that's not true. The infrastructure piece of that stimulus.
Well, it was billions.
Was a small piece.
Well, it was billions, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was billions, but out of the, let's say, $800 billion or $850 billion.
All right, fair enough.
Transfer payments to unemployed and welfare types were the biggest piece. Transfer payments to state governments to save the local government unions was the biggest. Those were the two biggest pieces by far. And transfer payments just take from Peter and give to Paul. There's no new economic activity.
No
That's
growth
really
there,
a political
right?
Decision.
Can I ask you about the numbers that are coming out later today? What do you expect, and what do they mean?
Well, we just got a retail sales number literally across the tape.
Oh, good.
And it fell, as was expected. But I just seen the early headlines, Brian, and it looks like, excluding autos, which are affected by the Japanese supply shortages, it looks like retail sales actually went up 2 or 0.3%.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it?
It would be. It would be stronger, a little bit stronger number than people thought. I can't totally vouch for that because I don't chew gum and talk on the radio that well.
I got it right in front of me, Larry. It says with excluding autos, retail sales jumped 0.3% or rose 0.3%.
Right.
Yeah. So you got it right.
And so that's good because people were quite worried. It's interesting to me. Even at the margins, there's a little too much gloom. Now, I'm not that optimistic. The economy is sputtering along at about a 2% rate, but the Japanese disaster has had a bigger impact on the U.S. economy than people thought maybe a month ago. That is coming through the numbers, whether it's manufacturing or car sales. But look, let's face it, we should be growing at 5 or 6 or 7% coming out of a deep recession, and we're not. And I think there are serious policy flaws, and I think the shovel-ready projects is one of those because it shows you that government spending doesn't work. And I don't think at any point in the last couple years, except for the occasional political aside, President really is a private sector guy. He believes in government planning, he believes in government spending, and he wants to, soak the rich at every turn. And I think that stuff takes its toll. I think the general psyche, the lack of animal spirits in the economy. Yesterday on our show on CNBC last night, we talked about this new survey of CEOs put out by the Grant Thornton people. And they're getting more pessimistic. They're getting more pessimistic across the board, and that's the kind of thing you do not want to see.
All right, Larry. Always great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Larry Kudlow, host of the Kudlow Report, 7 o'clock CNBC. Also, listen to the Larry Kudlow radio show, 7 o'clock on Saturday nights here on WMAL.